And,
What was the house like that you lived in?
well, I lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
There was 5 of us, and my 2 brothers and myself and my mother and father. And me and my kid brother, Paul, who's still around, lived in the back bedroom together.
Was that right? You
Yep,
shared
we
a
had to
room.
Shared a room, shared a bed together. You know.
You shared the bed?
Yeah, oh yeah. We had our own
That's
bed.
small of a place, huh?
And my brother, he had the room, he had the studio couch out there in the dining room there, so living room, I don't know. Anyhow, it was me and my father, mother, and 2 brothers. And we shared it, and we had our ups and downs, you know. And my brother Bob, we always had arguments with him. Him and I always had arguments.
Is that right?
Yeah. And finally, it got to the point where later on in life, I just didn't talk to him.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You were pretty estranged from him.
12 years
Yeah.
before he died.
And why'd that happen?
Well, when my mother died, he wanted my mother's diamond rings. He didn't want them, actually. The bitch wanted them, his wife. So that's what I called her. And she was a character who came into this house, and you went to the bathroom, used up all your mother's perfume, my wife's perfume, and had her lipstick over her lips and whatnot. And she was a character. And she could get the first base with me. That's what the problem was. Problem was she couldn't rule me. She used to rule Bob maybe, but she never ruled me. And I told her that right to her face. Okay? Well, my mother passed away, and I was controlling my mother's estate. Now I had all my mother's money, just whatever it was. I took the bank books of all my mother's money, and I divided it up. And after funeral expenses and this expense and that expense, I laid it out on the dining room table right here. And I had brought Paul in, me and him. We sat down, and I said, "Here's the bank books, and a check for each one, whichever it was." I said, "This is how much you get." I said, "And that's it. I don't have any more money. That's it." Well, later on, I got a $12 check from St. Raphael's, which I donated back to them, to the Cancer Society.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want the money, but he still wanted those rings. And I told him, I says, "I'm sorry, but your mother said to my wife, you keep those rings, they're yours, but if anything happens to me." And so, my wife has them. She still has them till this day. She still got them. Well, anyhow.
So Grandma's rings went to your wife, went to my mom.
Phyllis.
Yep.
To Phyllis, your
Yep.
mom. Yep. And she still has them. And he, a little later on, he says to me, he came in here, he says to me, "Look," he says, "I know there's more money." I says, "More money?" He says, "Yeah, there was $11,000. I said, "What are you crazy?" I said, "I told you before, there's no more money. That's it. Now you're holding back on me," he used to say. And I used to say, "Look," I says, "I told you in the first place. Do me a favor." And I was getting pissed, and I really got pissed off right here. Your mother, she ran out of the room. She ran across the street to Claire's.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she was afraid the language that came out of there was unreal, because I couldn't take it anymore. Every time I saw him, it was money, 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 money. So finally I said to him, "Get out of here, and don't come back. I didn't even want to see you again." You know, and we argued, and I threw them both out of there, out of this house, and never came back. We never talked again. He used to see me in, well, Wall Bombs was here at the time, and I used to be, well, sometimes I go to the delicatessen department, you know, I was standing there. He'd come in the store, and he'd stand there with her, and they watch me. Right? It was unreal. And one time he was talking to Frank, you know, Frank Kruglich,
Yeah.
and Frank would say, and David was in the store, and David would walk by him and say, "Hey, Uncle Frank, how are you?" And he says, Frank would say to Bobby, "You know who that is?" And he says, "No." He says, "That's your nephew." He didn't even know it. It was unreal.
It's sad.
Yeah, it was sad because that's the way he created it. He created it. Well, she was no gem either.
Yeah.
She was a pip.
I really don't want to dwell on her.
No. I don't even-
But it sounds like you and Bobby always had issues growing up too.
yeah, growing up we had issues, but that could be resolved. And you know, we didn't just didn't bother that way.
I mean, he was your older brother, right?
yeah, he was older, 2.5 years older than me.
Yeah.
But those issues could be resolved, and we didn't argue that much. We didn't fight that much. We just. But there was one big incident when after my father passed away, and he was living on Sherman Avenue with my mother. Was living on Sherman Avenue with the apartment that we all had, and one day I was working at United Nuclear,
Mhm.
you know, and I was working on a Saturday, and I used to call my mother up on the phone. So, "Hey, Ma, how are you? You need anything? How's everything?" You know, and I didn't like the sound of her voice. One day, and I says, "I'm coming over." So I got through work. It was early. I got through work, and I went over there, and I see a bruise on her. I'm not lying. This is a bruise. And I says, "What's the matter? How'd you get that?" And she wouldn't answer me, actually.
She wouldn't answer you?
No, she wouldn't answer me right away, you know. And then finally I found out what happened. He hit her. That got me pissed. I went after him and went across. Who's here? Someone here?
I think Danny's here.
I went across the table and grabbed a hold of him and pushed him up against the wall and almost out the window. And I said, "You touch her once more," he says, "I'll kill you." And that was it. Never touched her again.
Good.
Well,
Wow. Did she say what brought it on or anything?
no, I didn't ask.
You didn't get into it.
No, I didn't get into it. I didn't want to get into it. I just didn't want that to happen.
Right.
And I pissed off.
Yeah.
And that was it with him, you know. And like I say, like when she died, he demanded more money,
Right.
and I said, "There is no more." And we got to an awful argument over, and I kicked him the hell out of here, and I don't come back, and I don't want to talk to you again.
Right.
And that was it.
What was your, now you were still living at Sherman Avenue, right, at the time? Or was this after?
After.
This was after you had already left
I'm
there.
married.
This
I
was,
was married already.
right, because that was
This was
1964
1966.
when your dad died.
Dad died in 65.
65?
And this was about 66, 67, somewhere around there.
Okay, so you were long out of there. You were here in
Over
North
here.
Haven. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I bought the house here in 1961.
Right. Yeah, because I was 2.
Yeah, you were born.
Yeah.
You were born in 59.
Hmm.
And of course, you remember my father.
Yeah, I do actually.
And my father always liked you kids. He liked Danny. Well, Danny was born in 64, in 62 rather. Dave was born in 64. And he used to take you and you and Danny down Legion Avenue. And he used to go to Kligger's department store and buy your shoes.
Kliggers?
Kligger's.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, it's out of there now, but it was a big store. And he bought your shoes, and you and David, you and Danny, he bought your shoes. And I mean, my father liked your kids. He was good. Everybody who knew my father liked him. And I'll tell you how much they liked him was He passed away. His funeral parlor was overflowed.
Really?
People. That's how much they liked him.
Now, what did he do?
He worked for Standard Beef.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the bookkeeping department. Well, building clerk actually. Used to build them out, the trucks going out. And then he used to,
Is that making noises?
yeah, I hear a noise. I hear a noise, you know? That, he's doing something.
That's something else going on.
Yeah. Well, he used to work in the building department of Standard Beef. And I used to go down there, and we knew everybody there. And then after you get through work, through Standard Beef, he go upstairs and help out the girls upstairs with their books. And then he go from there. He go over to Newark Fruit Company and do the books for them. They were on Hill Street,
Mm-hmm.
which no longer exists today.